Welcome into the Paul Kuharsky podcast. Excited to talk to you today about what's going on with the Tennessee Titans. We're going to talk about their first down offense, Derrick Henry in the Hall of Fame, play action on offense, Cleveland's tough defense, and more. We've got a big sponsorship announcement as well, but not before we dive right in. First down passing is a big story for the Titans 2 games into the season. Single best development, I think, regarding what Tim Kelly's offense is so far. Titans are 50-50 on first down. That's passing percentage up 13%. Everybody hated under Todd Downing how predictable it was that the Titans were going to run the ball 63% of the time. Now it's down to 50% of the time. 68% of the team's passing yards have come on first down. So they've obviously got work to do on second and third down. And that's because 2 big plays against the Chargers, 70 yards to Treylon Burks, 49 yards to Chris Moore, came on first down. But this is a heck of a start. The Titans seeming determined to do more with Ryan Tannehill and in the passing game on first down. I think it's a great sign of what's to come. Takes away what was their most predictable element and sets them up for a lot better things. Here's Ryan Tannehill on first down passing game success.
Yeah, we want to be efficient. Whether it's a run, whether it's a pass, if you can be efficient on first and second down and keep yourselves in third and manageable, then you're going to create more opportunities to extend drives and to score points, right? So being in second and long, third and long is a tough place to live in this league. You're not going to convert too many third and 10 pluses over the course of a season, percentage-wise. So if we can keep ourselves in third and manageable by being efficient on first and second down, that's going to be, obviously, like it is for every team, a big factor in sustaining drives.
How enjoyable was it to keep looking at? Do you look at the board? Do you look at the sticks to know the down? You just know it, and to know you were in second and medium or short so often?
Yeah, I look at both the combination of the two. It's a good place to be, right? Because it opens up a lot of your playbook when you're in normal down and distance. You're not in get back on track, and you're able to really call anything you want to at that point and not be pigeonholed to getting back on track.
Look, they're still in a place where, and this is early. They're excited to be in first and 10 for starters, and not to be in first and 15 or first and 20 or second and 15 or second and 20, right? So my wish is an extreme wish, but he talks about third and manageable. And I'd love them to reach a point where they talk about maybe occasionally skipping third down altogether, getting a first down on first down, getting first down on second down, and making third down moot sometimes. I'd love to hear something like that from Ryan Tannehill occasionally, something like that from Mike Vrabel, from Tim Kelly. But look, we're early in this, and I know they would welcome that if they get that. Like I referred already to the 2 big passes, obviously getting first downs on first downs there, but it's never something they seem to aspire to the way the Chiefs aspire to it, the Rams aspire to it, the 49ers aspire to it. Those teams, it seems to me, who are more still modern offenses, love the idea of leaving third down off the table, never getting into pressure or getting into those pressure downs much less often, where you've got to convert, and certainly where you've got to convert something lengthy to keep a drive going. They seek to minimize that. But hey, like I said, we're in the early stages here of not taking a second and 8 willingly with a 2-yard first down run. And that is a victory for this offense and the fans of this offense. The Browns have put people in a lot of bad second downs. And that's going to be a challenge this week. Here's Mike Vrabel on that.
Trying to gain yards against a good defense, a bunch of good players, on the road, just making sure that, again, we're staying efficient and they've had 25 snaps of 2nd and 8 or 9 plus, which leads to 3rd and 10 and 3rd and long. And, guys are talented and playing fast. So just trying to stay ahead of the chains, and like we did the other day. And again, it wasn't perfect, but it was closer to what we want to look like.
Bombs to Burks and Moore skew the small sample size for sure. But Mike Herndon, in his piece on Wednesday, pointed out that the Titans are at 11.6 yards per attempt on first down, 8.6 yards per play on first down. Those are unlikely to stay that high, but hey, go for it, boys. Keep it up there. Read Herndon's piece from Wednesday for more details on the first down success and the start of Tim Kelly's term as the offensive coordinator. It's always a really good read. This is a very good read about the things that have distinguished Kelly so far. I'm very encouraged by Kelly. I thought in New Orleans, when his offense was really struggling, particularly in the pass game, he schemed up 2 plays that should have been long touchdowns that Tannehill overthrew when the receivers were getting no separation. That was big. He came out of that game saying that admitting, in the second half, he would have liked some plays back to have given Derrick Henry more when the snaps were out of sync, when he went too much Spears and not enough Henry. And then he came back in the second game, and their usage was much more equitable, it seemed to me. And I thought he had a really nice plan of attack and got the offense going after a slow start against the Chargers in a big and much needed win. I think Tim Kelly is on a really good track, and Herndon offered a lot of good evidence why. Another piece at the site this week, and this one is available for everyone to read. I'm sure some of the people who were coming at me on Twitter about it did not read the whole piece, which required some understanding of nuance as opposed to just reading a headline, where I asked if Tyjae Spears could have a negative effect, could hinder Derrick Henry's Hall of Fame chance. And I don't think it's an unreasonable question at all. It's simple. Derrick Henry needs a good deal more still, not a ton, but a good deal more to make a solid Hall of Fame case. A lot of people do not want to hear that. But for a running back who's over 30, he's either 29 or 30, you want to compile what you need sooner rather than later. If you say to a running back, do you want these numbers now, or do you want a complimentary back in the backfield that might extend your career and get the numbers later? You're going to want the numbers now, because there's no guarantee about later the way the league regards running backs now. So there are a lot of very good, very distinct things about Derrick Henry's career in terms of the 200-yard games, in terms of the long runs, in terms of what he did in that playoff run where they went to the AFC Championship game. If he hadn't missed the second half of 2021 with the Jones fracture in his foot, he very likely would own the best 4-year span in the history of the league in terms of rushing yardage, topping Eric Dickerson, which would be huge. But he missed those 8 games, and he doesn't own that record, which sucks. We're in a time where running backs are not viewed as a big ingredient to winning football teams and winning football games. He's not disproved that in terms of, the pinnacle of his career has been an AFC Championship game. Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson are coming up with eligibility in 2026 and 2027. After that, he might be the next guy that would have a good argument if he keeps going here for 2 or 3 more solid years. I think he needs probably around 12,000 yards. I would expect, get to 100 touchdowns. Spears has been electric in these first 2 games, and he's going to take some opportunity away from Derrick Henry. And I think it's reasonable to ask if that lost opportunity will slow Henry down in his bid for Canton. You can handle that conversation. I swear you can. I promise you can. Many of you have had perfectly reasonable conversations and discussions with me about it, which is good. I wrote a kind of Tuesday think piece about this, considering a whole bunch of variables and options on it. And many of you have made good points, and we've had good conversations on Twitter, on Facebook, and the like. Others have taken their blankie and run home. And if you're the kind of fan that can't handle a conversation about this with somebody who's got some insight and knowledge about how the process works and how other people on the committee judge these things, well, bye-bye to that crowd. If you can't handle it, take off. I mentioned new sponsorship. You can see I'm going to always point the wrong way. There, up there, Zen Sports is joining me. I couldn't be happier. This is, if you're unfamiliar, a new way to bet, a great app. And they're going to have incredible offers for my membership, and then to lure people into joining paulkuharsky.com. Just really phenomenal offers. So if you bet online, or if you have been tempted to bet online but haven't started betting online, they're going to give you every reason to come and start to bet online in Tennessee. And some other states where you may be, where betting is legal. They've been phenomenal for me to deal with. They're very interested in tapping into us as a community. And I think you're going to really, really like the things they have in store for us. It's very, very exciting. So stay tuned. I promise you're going to be interested in what they have to offer us all. And start to share some details on Monday, and certainly in next week's podcast. I appreciate what they've got coming for us very much. Zen Sports. Get the app on your phone so that you're ready. Jasper's continues to remain with us as well. Great eating and drinking options on West End Avenue, between downtown and midtown in Nashville. Free parking, free games, great place for a business lunch, family dinner, or a date night with your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend. I can't recommend it highly enough. Great food. I have a good time every time I am there. I really enjoy not paying to park, and it's a great location. Make a point of heading there. Recommend the bolognese or the Cuban sandwich, my 2 favorites, and I appreciate their loyalty to me. Let's talk about the Titans play action game. Now, again, because of the small sample size, a lot of things are buoyed by these 2 big plays, the bombs to Burks and to Chris Moore. But the Titans in the Chargers win were 7 of 9, Ryan Tannehill was, for 168 yards. With those 2 big passes being the meat of that. They do so well out of play action, generally speaking, and specifically in this game, that when I see great numbers out of it, and it's only 9 passes, which doesn't seem like a great amount, I wonder why not more than 9 passes. So I asked Mike Vrabel if there's a cap on it. And I don't know if I have that, but then I talked to Ryan Tannehill about, no, here's Mike on play action. Sorry.
Well, I think it's about timing and picking and choosing your spots. And getting a rhythm and a feel for, when pressure, may come. Sometimes some of those run actions, the protection could be stressed based on a pressure or look that you get. So sometimes we get out of it, but I don't think that there's a cap. You just want to be, balanced and be able to pick and choose your spots, and we were able to hit a couple of them the other day. Well, it's hard to drop back and just straight drop back in this league and protect against some of the rushers that we've seen early in the first couple weeks, and that'll be the same this week. So staying out of those down and distances where you got to get a bunch of people out, or you got to get a certain depth. So I think that's probably the case throughout the week. Just looking at Cleveland, that's something that they like to do. With Deshaun, play action, sometimes move the pocket. So yeah, just trying to mix it up and trying to be able to create some double teams inside or some combination blocks on some of those interior guys, and then get a couple hands on the edge rushers.
Struck as an aside as I listened to that for third or fourth time, and he's talking again about the down and distances, and hinting at they don't want to be in these troublesome down and distances. They get in these troublesome down and distances with these pre-snap penalties, false starts against a guy like Trevon Wesco, and with these holds, especially early down holds that put them in. These seem eminently controllable. Certainly the pre-snap stuff is, and there have been too much false starting by players of not a high caliber whose contribution, Trevon Wesco, is doing okay blocking, drops a pass, and has a couple of false starts, which are the most noteworthy things, right? The blocking is a quiet job that doesn't get you a ton of credit. That's the nature of his position. But when you draw attention to yourself with the false starts and the drop, then everybody inherently starts to think you're not doing a good job. Everybody in the fan community, a lot of media, starts to think you're not doing a good job blocking, even if you are, and he's done okay blocking for sure. And the holds with offensive linemen who are wind up overmatched or are not good enough. And so based on talent selection or on guys not being able to stick to their technique, the Titans end up in these poor down and distances, which throw the whole offense off, which they're constantly referring to. And so instead of what I was referring to earlier with the great first down passing, and instead of being able to talk about that so commonly, they talk about 1st and 15 as if they're in it way more often than they are in it, because they're so scared of it. Because when it happens, they know what a drive killer it is, and it produces such a problem for them. They've got to get beyond that, where they're not talking about it as such a massive, constant worry. Seems like an elemental thing. Of course, problems are going to arise at times, but they're arising too often when you're always on high alert for these bad down and distance scenarios. And they seem like they're always on high alert for the bad down and distance scenarios that answers that don't, to questions that don't ask about that bad down and distance scenarios often include questions that don't include that. The answers often include mentions of those things. I'm just noticing that and thinking of that now. It's rather, it's both annoying and it's sad. Too much of that. So A, they got to stop doing them, and B, they got to stop presuming that they've got a larger share of them almost than they actually have. Back to the play action. Talk to the coach about it. Let's hear from the quarterback on it and what stops them from maybe doing it more when they're so good at it.
A lot of things go into that, defenses that they're playing, coverages, pressures, how we feel about the different protections that we're running, the route concepts with the coverages that we're getting. You have a plan going into the game, and then you're trying to figure it out as the game goes on, like what you're seeing primarily, and make adjustments from there.
All right, fair. And 9 is not as small a number necessarily as I'm making it out to be when Tannehill had 24 dropbacks in the game. And they certainly made the most out of them, right? So if you're doing 9 and 24 dropbacks and you're getting a 70-yard bomb and a 49-yard bomb, I applaud it. I hope the success rate continues. They're very good at it. Keep it up is what I would say. Last week, I talked defensively about how it doesn't matter if you got the best run defense on the planet if you're going to give up all these explosive plays in the passing game. And we saw glimpses of that again as the Titans didn't see Austin Eckler. They're not going to see Nick Chubb. They're going to go 3 games, no Alvin Kamara, no Austin Eckler, no Nick Chubb. How much can they limit the chunk plays? The Chargers got some. The Browns need to not get enough to throw the game off. But one of the things I suggested in what's been the failure of the Titans formula, where they're going to make you one-dimensional, not let you run the ball, then rush the passer and kind of squash you as you're one-dimensional passing, but you're making all these X plays, which makes all of it moot, was the idea that they need to get at least one elite corner in the defensive backfield to really help the cause back there. And they've struck out in their attempts to get that guy through the draft, right? Fulton in and out of the lineup with the hamstring and can be very good, but is not elite. McCreary, good player, but not elite. Farley, a complete strikeout. Molden, 3rd round contributor and nickel and dime, but not that level. They don't have that singular guy. But that's thinking about this now, looking ahead at who they have. Quarterbacks they're going to face the rest of the way. Joe Burrow, the best one, coming up in 2 weeks, but he's not playing very well right now. To me, Tua playing great. Tagovailoa playing great. Might you can argue he's the best one. I got him second on my list. They see him later in the season. I'd put Trevor Lawrence 3rd. They'll see him twice. Lamar Jackson 4th. Geno Smith 5th. And then you've got 2 with Anthony Richardson, who doesn't worry me. I don't think he's going to beat you. Ritter is not going to beat you, like by himself. Pickett, no. Mayfield, no. Bryce Young, no. And 2 with Stroud, no. So there's a lot of quarterbacks there that you don't worry about doing the things that were done to you by Herbert in a pinch there. But Derek Carr, I would have said the same thing about. So now you got to go to receivers also, right? This week you're going to see a couple good ones. Then Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as a pairing, a problem. Michael Pittman, you'll see twice. He can be a problem. Zay Flowers still developing, but can certainly envision him giving the Titans a problem. George Pickens is up and comer, can be a problem. Mike Evans certainly can be a huge handful for the Titans, no matter who's delivering him the ball. Calvin Ridley twice can be a problem. Tyreek Hill and company in Miami certainly can be a problem. Nico Collins, don't laugh. He's off to a heck of a start for Houston. Now, Houston throwing the ball a lot late, I imagine, in losing 2 games by significant margins, but he's 5th right now in the league in receiving yards, and they'll see him twice. And then the Seattle tandem of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So they are going to see maybe not the best list of quarterbacks, but, 2 of the quarterbacks that aren't good to me, Richardson and Mayfield, come with receivers in Pittman and certainly Mike Evans, who can do some damage. Titans have to buckle down that secondary. And then, are we going to see Fulton and Hooker in and out of the lineup, in and out, in and out? Hooker missed about half the season last year, and we know Fulton's track record. And when he has a hamstring after he changed his training regime last year, and he misses the second game with a hamstring already, I just don't know how dependable you could expect that guy to be. Interesting side note here. My kid plays a lot of video games like any 13-year-old. And he was on the phone while he was playing with his buddy Bennett the other day. My son Simon was playing with a female character in Fortnite. And so I was talking with him and with Bennett, who was on the speakerphone. And Bennett was also playing with a female character. And I asked them how often they play with female characters. And they said about half the time. I think a lot of the female characters in the game are very cool. And I just found that interesting in that, I don't know that I wasn't a big video game guy, but I don't know that a generation ago there were a lot of female character options available, or that a lot of teenage boys would have been inclined to pick female characters had they been available. So there's a spot that I don't think there's been like some huge push for teenage boys to pick female characters, and it's just kind of taken off. I think that's kind of cool. And staying in that vein, I asked the private Facebook group for a couple questions for this podcast, and 2 of our female members stepped up. Mindy Cunningham Parr said, "What are the players saying about the new field?" Look, I think some of them think it's fast, so there's a benefit to the field being fast, but nobody prefers the new field to the old field, even the old field when it's bad. I mean, it's universally held that players prefer grass to turf. Players prefer bad grass to the best turf. And so, the NFL keeps kind of two-siding this thing. It's like some of the bad political stuff that goes on in our country where we two-side things that don't really have 2 sides. The NFL keeps saying, well, we're working on the safest thing for both. And our biggest concern is that we have safety down on both. There's good features about both. Well, sure, there's good features about both. The good features of the turf fields are not as good safety-wise as the good features about grass. The only rationale here for the Titans is, they're talking about, and they talked about a couple non-contact ACL. Batson was one of them. I can't remember who the other one was in the same game. Might have been Farley. But look, they're trying to be good citizens. It's easier for them to hold more concerts and more other events in the stadium if there's turf in there. And they're a few years away from being a turf team anyway, when they move into their indoor venue. So getting a couple of years head start isn't, life-altering, they would say. Now, you hope it's not life-altering to a guy that shreds a knee or an Achilles or, has his foot stop and breaks a leg or whatever. But I think fans prefer the game on grass. Players prefer the game on grass. The people that don't prefer the game on grass are owners for financial reasons. Cities who are invested in stadiums who could get more events in there, which is for financial reasons. And it's that simple, really. Kim Hillsman Dunaway, hi Kim, said Jason Fitz was saying part of the reason Deshaun Watson is so bad this year is because their new offense is a lot of play action versus shotgun, which he prefers. How does this bode for the Titans defense? Are they more effective against play action or shotgun? I don't have numbers that tell me which they're more effective against. But play action, as we saw that the Titans use it, is effective at slowing down a rush, generally speaking. Now, Mike Vrabel spoke about it earlier in this podcast. You have to hit it right, against the right personnel package and the right defensive set. But play action's design is to make a defense hesitate at coming towards the quarterback because it thinks run. And so people have to pause for a moment, however small, to make sure it's not run. And that slows down what's coming at the quarterback. So play action should have some bearing on the Titans' good pass rush if it's done well. And, there's been a lot of evidence over time. You don't have to be running the ball well for play action to have an effect. I've always, and I've written about this a couple of times over my career. I've always said to, linebackers, if you're playing Peyton Manning and, why wouldn't you just go if there's potential for it to be passed and suffer the consequences of why wouldn't you just stay and get to the run a little late if there's a good chance or if you think there's a chance it's pass, play pass and go to the run late as opposed to play run and be late reacting to the pass. It seems to me in that equation you'd come out ahead in the long run. But everybody says it's not possible and it's not how it works. So we'll see how that plays out for the Titans in play action. Cleveland's defense, let's flip to the other side of the ball, is allowing a completion percentage of .475 so far this season, which is fantastically low. Tannehill's going to have to do better than that for the Titans to have a chance in this game. Here's Tannehill talking about Cleveland's defense.
Fast physical defense. You see them flying around, aggressive, penetrating front. Their D-line is strong. Obviously, we know their edge players and the talent that they have out there. Their inside guys are penetrating as well, just being disruptive. Their backers are flying around. They're playing extremely fast, seeing what's going on quickly, diagnosing it, and playing physical and fast. Secondary, they're doing a good job of getting their hands on footballs and being in good spots. They have talent out there. So you look across the board, I have a ton of respect for this defense and what they can do. Obviously, Coach Schwartz was here and just a great coach and been around a long time, done a lot of good things over the course of his career. So ton of respect for what they're doing right now. We're going to have to play well.
Lip service like this every week about an opponent. So this is not surprising, but the Browns are really playing great defense under Jim Schwartz. They're second overall. They're tied for third against the rush. They're tied for second against the pass. They're first on third down. They're second in points allowed. All right. They played the Bengals, who are struggling out of the gate, but part of the reason they're struggling is because Cleveland gave them a really tough game. And they played Pittsburgh tough. Pittsburgh's defense did a lot of the winning there. This is not the Chargers by any means. Schwartz has been a good coordinator here in Buffalo and Philadelphia. Had some success in Detroit, a tough place as a head coach. He's got some insight into Tennessee personnel, though a lot of it has changed. He knows Tannehill. He knows Henry. He knows Burks. He knows Nick Westbrook-Akine. He knows Chig. He knows Brewer. He knows Radens. That's a pretty decent collection of guys to know. Now, there are enough new guys here that he doesn't know. He knows Vrabel. He knows Kelly and Dews, offensive coordinator and tight end coach, but he doesn't know them in those roles. And he knows Rob Moore, the wide receiver coach, in that role. It's a new offensive system, sure, but he's not just about the people he knows. He's a good coordinator, can assess a team tendencies, talent, and fare well at taking things away, at forcing certain things to happen that aren't that team's strength. And I certainly fear that he'll be good at doing that against the Titans. If you're looking for the Titans to have success, I think there's going to be a big challenge for the Titans. Now, they may suffer a letdown, the Browns, on a short week recovering from Nick Chubb going down with injury. But I do think this. I think that there is a good chance that the Cleveland Browns of 2023 look a lot like the Titans of 2021. When Derrick Henry went down at the midpoint of that season, the Titans said, we're not going to change our identity. And it seemed laughable, right? But they brought in two guys in Foreman and Hilliard, and they went forward. And in fact, they did not change their identity, and they ran very effectively as if Henry was still there. They didn't have the home run threat, but they got going. The Browns are built to run. Got a good offensive line. They lost Jack Conklin, yeah, but their mentality and their talent is built to run. And I won't be surprised, and maybe it won't show up this week, if they plug in their guys. Kareem Hunt's coming. I don't know what he'll be able to do this week as the second back. But they put their two guys in there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Stefanski refers behind the scenes to them, to the 2021 Titans, and says, they lost their bell cow, and look at what they did, and we've lost ours, and we're going to do the same thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. Now, Titans, good run-stopping team. I don't think that's how they'll lose this game, if they lose this game. But I do think season's not over for the Browns, given this injury. We'll finish with this. Do you know who the Titans' backup long snapper is? A lot of people presume Morgan Cox's backup is Aaron Brewer, the center. But a shotgun snap and a long snap are not that closely related. And it is not, in fact, Aaron Brewer. It is inside linebacker Jack Gibbons. This is interesting to me. It's a small nuance. You hope Jack Gibbons is never in position to have to long snap for the Titans. But in case he is, we should get to know him, about him and why he has this role. So we chatted with him.
Yeah, I mean, I started long snapping in high school. I did, like, on JV, I snapped some field goals and stuff, but was never even, like, a guy doing it. But it's something I said I could do when I was in college, too, just kind of trying to create as much value for yourself as you can. So I've always practiced it. Said this kind of same situation here, just was like, hey, I have some experience doing it, so I've been working it. And yeah, now that I'm on the depth chart as a backup long snapper, I definitely work it every day. Just never know what's going to happen. Just be ready to step in there if we needed it.
Where do you sneak it in? Do you
I usually get it before practice, get some snaps in, yeah.
Do you do it with Stonehouse or?
Yeah, Stonehouse or wherever I can rope into catching the ball for me. But
so how many do you try to get in?
I mean, just until I feel comfortable, just make sure I get, 5-10 good ones, and then get a few field goal snaps. Just you never know when that's going to come up in a game. Like Coach Vrabel brought it up for week one last year. The Bengals had a game-winning field goal, and their long snapper was down, and they had a guy have to step in there. So just want to be ready if that situation arises.
So you got no worries if you got called on?
I mean, I'll probably be a little bit nervous, but I think we could get it done.
So this demanded that I go around the corner to Gibbons' mentor, the one and only Morgan Cox, to get a review of what kind of snaps we would see if, for some reason, Cox was unable to do his job.
He's doing great. He's making great strides from when we started, giving him little tips and tricks here and there, kind of coaching him on how I do things, and just kind of helping him avoid the pitfalls.
It's important that you not get hurt. is the fundamental thing
Sure.
with long snapping,
Sure.
right? When you've
I
got a
have
top flight
torn-
long snapper.
I've torn both my ACLs in games. Once my rookie year and once my 5th year.
This is not what people want to be reminded of here.
No, they don't. But I've got 2 new knees now. So anyway, but no, it's an important thing. Because in the NFL, so many games are decided within one score, and so you need that extra edge to be able to win games in the end.
When did you first learn that Jack had any experience and was a guy who could do it?
He started working on it last year. It's one of those things you add tools to the toolbox, and he's done a great job, being consistent with it. I think that's where he is right now. He's going out there and getting some reps early in practice. That way, if he gets called upon, he's ready to go.
So it's one of these skills in this toolbox that we hope is always kept in the bubble over there.
No question. Yeah, I remember my rookie year, Willis McGahee was my backup. You might remember Willis from his Miami days and his long career in the NFL. But when I got hurt, he came over to me, and I could kind of see a little bit of the panic in his eyes of like, oh, am I really going to have to do this? But I ended up finishing the game, and it's a good story now.
So he never
had to do it, but we practiced him a little bit in practice and everything. But fortunately for him, he never had to go and execute it in the game.
Y'all would have loved to have seen Willis McGahee long snap, right? At the same time, raise a glass to Morgan Cox's health, because I don't think any Titans person wants to see Jack Gibbons long snap in a game. Stay tuned for details on the new partnership with Zen Sports. It's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a great offer for you that is going to change your online betting life. It's going to be terrific. Really excited for that. Appreciate Jasper's continued support as well. And I'll send you out, as always, with a warning. Don't block the box, but be sure, please, to lock your locks.